the various effects of taxation on production, distribution, and the various ability to pay, ability to invest, ability to save, and ability to buy the commodities. And today we are going to start with the effects of taxation on consumption and employment. And even last class also we have touched upon the various impact on consumption. The consumption has been severely impacted on the high amount of tax rates by the government. The imposition of the tax rates will affect the rate of consumption or the aggregate consumption of the people of a nation. And because of this decline in the consumption, I mean aggregate consumption, will influence on the various other macroeconomic indicators, especially the employment. And we know that once the aggregate consumption becomes less, then the amount of production also reduces. When the amount of investment reduces due to the decline in production, that is also impacts on employment. And we can also debate, sir, the increase in taxation, we can collect taxes from people so that can be used for new investment of the government, so that public expenditure or the public investment will increase. And when we are collecting lesser taxation, that will lead to disinvestment, that is selling of the government organization, government companies. For example, recently the government of India has sold the Indian Airlines to a private sector, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So because of the government could not able to make expenditure on the public projects, public limited companies, public owned enterprises such as Bell, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, it is in losses. Hindustan Motors already lost and they have closed. Hindustan Aeronautical, that is also in the neck to neck profit loss accounts. It is in break even only, not in having any kind of profit. And Hindustan photo film industry, that is sick, it is one of the sick industry in India. And like that, many of the government projects could not able to process it because of the if we are not imposing taxation and generating income. Yes, that is also possible, but the thing is, we need to generate more income with an optimum amount of taxation based on the proper implication of the principle of taxation. If you are applying the principle of taxation, the effect of taxation will be on positive towards generating employment. Because of the employment generation, it leads to increase the income, then it will leads to increase in consumption. So all the macroeconomic indicators will positively works. You know, if it is positively works or negatively works from one indicator to another indicator, what is the effect called? When taxation, fiscal policy of the government is decided to reduce or increase. For example, if it is reduces the taxation. So because of reduced taxes, the consumption will increase because people have to pay lesser income tax. And because of the increase in consumption, the level of investment will also increase because the producer has to produce more to meet the aggregate consumption in the economy. And because of increase in production, we required a lot of employment people to employ. for output, for production, so that the employment will get generated. When people are getting employment, the income level also will increase in the nation. And this kind of positive impact or this process, what we call this effect is called, any idea, Sanjay?
No, sir.
Okay. It is called as multiplier effect. It is called as
Multiplier effect.
multiplier effect. Okay. Now we have seen the various impact of production, impact of taxation on production, consumption, and employment. Now we'll move on to the next topic. Just a moment. Taxable capacity. So before we are moving into taxable capacity, anyone knows what is multiplier? You want some insights on multiplier, students? If you know, then we'll move forward. Gerard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, can you tell me?
No, sir. I meant you have to explain.
Okay, okay. So, since the public economics is one of the branch of macroeconomics, if you know certain basic ideas of macroeconomics, it will be easier for understanding various theories of public finance or public economics. That is why in between, when the appropriate place comes, I am just highlighting those macroeconomic fundamentals. So with respect to multiplier, it is the combination of the changes in income and changes in consumption. Suppose if the income changes, what will happen to the consumption?
Consumption also changes.
Yeah, either it may be positive or negative, because both income and consumption is having a positive relationship. Because of increase in investment, changes in income will leads to changes in consumption. It is a kind of the ratio between income and consumption. This ratio between income and consumption, it is called as multiplier. And we can use any kind of variable. For example, investment and savings. There is a changes in the investment will leads to changes in the savings. If you check the ratio between investment and savings, we can able to identify the multiplier effect. Likewise, when one single variable, macroeconomic variable, will have a reflection on the various other macroeconomic variables, it is called as the multiplier effect. If we say an example, when the amount of income increases, simultaneously your consumption and savings also will increase in an aggregate level. I'm not talking about individual. As an economy as a whole, the whole economy's income will increase. That leads to increased aggregate consumption, and eventually it will also linked with the savings, because our savings or the aggregate savings also will increase. Because of the increase in the aggregate consumption and hike in the aggregate savings will leads to enhance the investment in the economy, both autonomous investment and induced investment. Correct? You're following?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now we have a question. What is autonomous investment? What is induced investment? What is autonomous investment?
When investment happens automatically, sir.
Okay, very good. Then what is induced investment?
So some kind of incentives and all are given to make them invest.
Okay. Okay, good. So your thought is very good. It's a new idea we can use. But in macroeconomic principle, the autonomous investment is derived from the government. Sanjay?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. All the government investment, for example, the government is making some investment on road projects to achieve the welfare of the people. The government is making investment on to develop the human resource things like education, then hospitals, then transportation, public welfare schemes. Wherever the government is creating public expenditure for the benefit of the people, for generating employment, it is called as autonomous investment. And induced investment is encouraging, what is told is partially correct with respect to induced investment. Induced investment is encouraging the private people, private players to invest more. How we can encourage to promote investment from the private players? Not providing incentive, but reducing the interest rate for loans. The government can encourage the private people to invest more. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So these elements like reduce in tax rates, then increase in consumption, increase in savings, then because of the high consumption and savings, it is going to be used for the further production. Because when I consume, when all the people consume, that is become an expenditure for me, and that will become income for others, and those income will generate further investment in the economy, so that the aggregate investment will increase. That aggregate investment will generate more employment. That more employment will generate more income for the economy, so that it will having the multiplier impact or multiple impact on various macroeconomic variables, including increase in autonomous investment and induced investment, so that the economy will grow because of a small change in the tax rates, reducing the tax rate. This is called the multiplier effect will happen in the economy through reduction of taxation. This multiplier effect can also be negative. When it can be negative? When the public taxation, the government taxation is hiked, when it has become so high, so that the multiplier effects will become negative, so that it will impact negatively on reducing the aggregate consumption, reducing the amount of money income and the people's savings, and it will also reduce when consumptions are declined, savings level is declined. How it will be generated into an investment? Because that investment will also be reduced due to decline in the consumption and savings of the people, and further it will deteriorate the employment opportunities and so on. And it will also reduce the government expenditure. Again, the government will not have more money, because when the taxes are high, people's income are less, people could not able to pay taxes, because they are not earning more. Their ability to work will decline, their ability to save decline, their ability to invest will decline, so that the collection of taxes also will decline because of the rate of increase in the taxes. And again, government could not able to invest, because the government revenue also will come down. And government revenue comes down, government itself could not able to make investment, and the private people also is not encouraged to make an investment, because the people's consumptions are very less. So that when we start business and invest so much of money from the private players, they could not able to get the profit or return from the business. So that the negative multiplier will happen. Suppose in case of negative multiplier is happening in the economy due to higher taxation or tax rates, there is one more investment there is a possibility of attracting one more investment. What is that investment? Not induced investment, not autonomous investment. Will also get investment from
Foreign.
Exactly. So we'll also attract investment during those scarcity period, when the economy is having the problem of a trough or the poor situation of the country, or we can also call it as a recession. During the recession period, so we require to revamp the economy so that we can invite foreign direct investment from foreign countries. So the third part of the investment may chip in to solve the problem of disequilibrium in the economy. Okay, that is up to that. We can conclude the impact of or the impact or effects of taxation on the economy on various macroeconomic variables. If you want to ask any questions on up to this, we can discuss. If you don't have any questions, doubts, then we can move forward to the next topic. Yes. Any questions, doubts, clarification, you can ask me. Vinay Prasad. Everyone enable your video. Roshan, Vinay, Buffin, Jibin, Solomon. Shivakumar, Joel, Kumari Krishna. So many sleeper cells we have. All are in sleeping mode. Emmanuel, very good. Emmanuel, you have any questions?
No, sir. No,
You
sir.
understood?
Yes, sir.
Good. What about Tejas?
Nothing, sir. Nothing, sir.
No question? Okay. What about Bhavana? Bhavana is there today?
Yes, sir, I am there.
Yeah, I could not able to see you. That's why. And what about Shanta Kumari, Kumari Krishna, Meenakshi? They are there?
Yes, sir, I'm there.
Yeah, no video.
I'm not groomed well, sir, so I'm sorry.
No, fine, no problem, no problem. Okay, Joel is there? Okay. So, can we move to the next? That is taxable capacity. So, we'll understand what is taxable capacity. The word itself, which denotes the the taxable capacity. Yes, Meenakshi responded. Yes, Meenakshi. If you have any questions, you can ask even in the chat box also. Meenakshi, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have any questions to ask regarding the effects?
No, sir. No, sir.
Good. Okay. So, with respect to the taxable capacity, the word itself, which implies the when the consumers or the public, they should have some capacity to pay the taxes. And how this taxable capacity has been found, it has been purely depends upon the income of the people. So the taxable capacity denotes the extent to which a person can be taxed. However, as government activities reach progressively with the high levels of implications, a particular situation will be met for further increases in expenditures, because the government is also generating so much of fund from taxes. Through the deriving the income from taxes, then only they can able to use that resources, the tax resources and non-tax resource revenues can be used for further expenditure of the development processes. Even if accompanied by comparable or greater increases in taxes will produce continuous inflation. So it is also one side, they required money for the production, for autonomous investment, for public expenditure, for welfare measures. But again, when we keep on increasing the tax rate on various goods and services, on various commodities, that will leads to cost for the increase in the prices of the goods and services through inflationary aspects. So the taxable capacity has been identified with the help of a curve called as the Laffer curve. The Laffer curve has been used to find out the taxable capacity. The bullet-shaped curve, a curve we are going to discuss in the forthcoming slides, a bullet-shaped curve or a downward U-shaped curve, not a fully U-shaped and half round U-shaped bullet-shaped curve, shows the relationship between tax rates and government revenues. The relationship between tax rates and government revenue. What is the tax rate? For example, how we can correlate these two variables? One is tax rate, another one is government revenue. Government revenue is the revenue of the government through collection of taxes. And if tax rates are depends upon percentages, and percentages maybe it may be 5% or 10% or 20%. So what is going to happen if the tax rate increases? Please listen carefully. If tax rates are increased, what is going to happen in the government expenditure? If tax rates are increased, the government expenditure also should increase. If tax rates are coming down, the government expenditure should fall. I mean, the government revenue should fall. So tax rate and government revenue. We thought that the tax rate will encourage more to generate more revenue. Cutting down of tax rates will result in reduction of government revenues. As tax rate rises from zero, revenue will increase until an optimum point. That is the uniqueness of this Laffer curve. that Laffer curve is explained? No, there is, it is not meant that when tax rates are increasing, government revenue must increase. When the tax rates are increasing, up to a certain point, the revenue of the government will increase. Further, if you keep on increasing the tax rates, it leads to reduce the tax revenue or the government revenue of the public authorities. So once again, I'll repeat, the taxable capacity means as an individual, the taxpayer is having certain capacity to pay the taxes. If the tax rates are very low, they can easily pay the taxes. If the government or the public authority is increasing the tax rate, that leads to going to reduce the government revenue because the taxable capacity of the people is limited. When you are again and again increasing the government taxation, because of that, the capacity of the people will reduce. While the people's capacity to pay the taxes are reducing, that will affect the government revenue because the generation of the government revenue will come down. Up to this clear?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Sir, how it will reduce? There is a question. When the tax rates are increasing, that means the people have to pay more taxes only. How the government revenue will decline? That is what the Laffer curve is used to explain. As the tax rate rise from 0, when it is 0, then no revenue for the government. Then they will increase from 0 to some percentage. For example, it is some 10%. When it is increased to 10%, automatically from 0 revenue to some amount of revenue will be generated by the government. Further, if you are increasing, then people has to suffer because they have to pay more taxes. Further, you are increasing to 25%, 10, 20, 25. Further, if you are increasing to 25, then people told this is the limit, this is the capacity I can able to pay. Further, if you are increasing, I could not able to pay because I am going to earn less so that I could not able to come into the slab of that particular payment because my ability to pay is going to reduce, ability to save is going to reduce, ability to invest is going to reduce. If I am reducing the investment, automatically I don't want to pay taxes. If you are reducing my consumption, automatically my income also reduced. My income is reduced so that I could not able to pay the taxes. When income comes only, I can able to pay taxes. Suppose if we're consuming more only, I have to pay GST. If I'm not consuming, why I need to pay GST? Suppose one example I'm telling you, when the tax rate is very less for motorbikes, so many people is going to buy. When the tax rate is become 40% for buying the bike, why unnecessarily I have to buy bike? Better I can go by cycle or by public transport so that I won't buy bike. So that what will happen to the tax revenue of the government from automobile industry?
Lesser, sir.
It will reduce. So that is what the Laffer curve is saying. If the taxable capacity of the people is achieved, it is reached, that is the maximum taxable capacity. When it is reached, further if you are making further increase in the taxes, that will end up with reduction of the government revenues. So that is always there is some point up to certain point the revenue will increase. That is the optimum level. After that, it will start decline. That we are going to discuss with the help of the diagrammatic representation. Before that, we'll also have some the theoretical aspects of taxable capacity. Tax means we know what is the meaning of tax. So tax is a compulsory payment. There is no direct benefit out of it. And taxable capacity is one of the important element under the taxation system. So the taxable capacity is coined, or the definition is made by Josiah Stamp. He told that taxation capacity is the total production minus the amount required to maintain the population at subsistence level. According to this definition, the total production refers to the total volume of income produced and available for the people. So when income is higher, then they are having a good amount of taxable capacity. When the income of the people has declined, they could not able to pay taxes for their either it may be consumption or it may be for income. So automatically higher tax rates will reduce the income of the people, will reduce the consumption of the people, will reduce the level of investment of the people, to reduce the amount of savings of the people. When the consumption, investment, income and savings are reduced, there is no point of paying the taxes. Automatically the amount of taxes will also reduce, so that the government revenue will decline. And the taxable capacity is normally used into two ways. One is absolute taxable capacity and another one is relative taxable capacity. Absolute taxable capacity and relative taxable capacity. We'll just see what is absolute taxable capacity and relative taxable capacity. The absolute taxable capacity, which shows the amount of money in terms of monetary terms or the proportion of national income that can be taken away by the government from people in the form of taxes without producing unfavorable effects. The concept of absolute taxable capacity is not to be assumed as a constant entity. So what does it means? The absolute taxable capacity, which indicates the amount of money or the proportion of national income that can be taken away by the government from people in the form of taxes without producing unfavorable effects. That means the government is imposing the taxation on people on the income generated by an overall nation. That is very simple only. We don't want to look into very seriously, because the absolute taxation is nothing but the exact amount of money has been collected from the people for the through taxation system, and there is no direct benefit out of it. So we are directly collecting the money. And relative taxable capacity is with reference to the proportion of two or more nations or groups of people or persons contribute towards a common expenditure through taxation. For example, that is, first one is about one particular country and with respect to one particular country's income generated, from that some amount of taxes has been collected. So we can able to find out what is the taxable capacity of that particular country. With respect to the relative taxable capacity, it has been observed, or which indicates the forum of countries. For example, SAARC countries are there. So SAARC countries or South Asian countries or ASEAN countries. So that is a federation or organization or a kind of region which forms a group, and when they are making some expenditure for the welfare of health, for the welfare of education, for the welfare of COVID-19 relief, for the welfare of refugees, and so on, so that for that particular expenditure, certain taxation has been generated for those countries. That is called as relative taxable capacity, but it is not measured individually. It is measured for the overall countries and group of countries. That is just for your understanding. I'm just brought it here. What is will be the relative because in relative taxable capacity, why it is coined, we cannot exactly measure the taxable capacity of one country or one individual people of a country. This meant for the understanding of the taxable capacity of a group of nations or the federations, or if it may be a group of persons or a group of states or governments or nations, that we can measure what is the range of taxable capacity of that particular region, SAARC countries, ASEAN countries, South Asian countries, like that. And the absolute taxable capacity, it is purely depends upon one particular nation and how the taxes has been levied on people based upon the amount of national income has been generated. That is what the overall picture of identifying the taxable capacity for the countries and for a particular single nation. And there are certain factors which determine the taxable capacity. So first one, the size of the national income. As I told, the first absolute taxable capacity, which talks about the depends upon the national income. Suppose if a country's national income is so high, then obviously that will positively influence on taxation system. When the national income is high, obviously their amount of taxable capacity is also high. Suppose how I can explain, if country's national income means that the individual income is also high. When individual income is high, the individual taxable capacity also will become more. So size of the national income will have a great influence on the taxable capacity positively. Higher the national income, higher the taxable capacity. Then the size and rate of growth of population. When the population pressure is keep on growing high, the population is keep on growing high, those countries' taxable capacity or the amount of taxes will also increase, because higher the rate of growth of population will leads to higher the rate of national income. We are not checking the per capita income. Sometimes per capita income will come down. You following, students? Not per capita income. Because
Yes, sir. Yes.
when national income is higher also, eventually you have more rate of growth of population, your per capita income of a country will come down. So that we are not taking it as a per capita income. This is, we are measuring the taxable capacity of the whole country. It can be measured through the national income of the country, because absolute taxable capacity also will measures the national income and how much the taxable capacity has been determined. And size of the rate of the growth of population. The overall population is so high, obviously the amount of taxable capacity is also high for the nation. And distribution of income and wealth. When the distribution of income, in the last class also we have told, what is the distribution of income?
Sir, distribution of income among the 4 factors of production.
Various amount of money has been distributed through economic activities through the factors of production, like distribution of income through wages, distribution of income through rent, distribution of income through interest, distribution of income through profit. All this distribution of income and distribution of wealth, assets, These are all, if it is increases, the taxable capacity of the people will also increase. And stability and growth of income. If the economy is stable, it is growing in a prosperous way. The income of the country is so high. We all know 4 phases of business cycle. When the economy is in the top portion of the business cycle, when it is in prosperity or boom, then the economy is having more taxable capacity. When it is having a stability and high growth of income, then the economy is having the high taxable capacity. What are the different phases of business cycle? What are the different phases of different business cycle? Yes or no?
Sir, boom, recession, depression, and recovery.
Boom,
Recession,
recession,
depression,
depression,
and recovery, sir.
recovery. Okay. So these phases, which phase the economy will have more taxable capacity? Country will have more taxable capacity.
Boom, sir.
Boom. Why?
Because the maximum productivity will be.
Production will be so high, employment will be so high, income will be so high, money supply will be so high, national income will be so high, GDP will be so high, so that the country will be in prosperity. When the country is in prosperity, they will have a better taxable capacity. So these are all the important factors which influence or determines the taxable capacity of the economy. Now directly we can pass on to the diagrammatic representation of what is the relationship between tax rate and tax revenue of the government. Tax rate and tax revenue of the government. Up to this, I'll stop here. In the next class, we'll discuss about the diagrammatic explanation of the Laffer's curve or taxable capacity. If you have any questions, you can ask me. We have 1 more minute to go. We'll discuss on any doubts, clarifications. Yes, Sanjay.
Yes, sir.
Any doubts, clarifications?
No, sir. No, sir.
What is taxable capacity, Sanjay? Sanjay,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So can you repeat that?
what is taxable capacity?
Sir, the amount which I mean the people can be taxed maximum. It should not affect them adversely.
Yes. So in general, taxable capacity is the capacity of the people of the nation, how much they can able to pay taxes. And it has been depends upon the national income, GDP, growth of population, and the growth of income of the country. Not an individual. We are not measuring the individual. We are measuring for the whole country.
Okay.
Gerard?
Yes, sir. Understood, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So up to this, I'll stop here. We'll continue in the next class. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.